24 hours. That is all the time Alex Eala had between hoisting a trophy in Birmingham and stepping onto one of the most historic grass courts in tennis. She celebrated her first grass court title with a sandwich at her hotel, caught a few hours of sleep, and then made the 90-minute drive south to West Kensington. Most players build into a WTA 500 with days of rest, practice sessions on the actual tournament courts, media obligations spaced carefully across a preparation window. Eala showed up with grass stains still fresh on her psyche and a body that had just been through 2 hours and 37 minutes of a 3-set final. And now, on June 9th at the HSBC Championships at Queen's Club, she walks onto court against Zhang Shuai, a 37-year-old veteran who has been playing professional tennis since before Eala was born. This is a collision of momentum versus memory, youth versus cunning, and the question of whether riding a hot streak through back-to-back tournaments is brilliant scheduling or reckless ambition. Let me tell you how to catch every point of this match live. In the United Kingdom, the BBC has full broadcast rights across BBC TV, BBC iPlayer, and the BBC Sport website and app. If you are watching from the United States, Tennis Channel carries the tournament and it is available through streaming platforms including Fubo and DirecTV Stream. For viewers in the Philippines and across Southeast Asia, check with your local WTA broadcast partner or the WTA's own streaming options. The match is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, June 9th, with coverage beginning in the morning, London time. Order of play is typically confirmed the evening before at around 6:00 p.m. local. So keep an eye on the official Queen's Club and WTA social media channels for exact court assignments and start times. Now, here is why this specific first-round draw matters far more than its ranking difference suggests. Alex Eala arrived in England on June 1st ranked 37 in the world and carrying the weight of a clay season that produced respectable but not spectacular results. Third round at the Italian Open. Second round in Madrid. First round exit at Roland Garros. The narrative around her had shifted from the breathless excitement of her Indian Wells breakthrough in March where she defeated world number 4 Coco Gauff en route to the fourth round and touched a career high of 29 to something more uncertain. The clay had not been kind. The questions had started. Was Indian Wells a peak rather than a platform? Birmingham answered. And it answered in the most convincing possible way. Not with dominant scorelines, but with something harder to manufacture. Resilience. Eala dropped the first set of her final against Nikola Bartunkova 5-7 after wasting a 5-2 lead. She squandered 2 championship points later in the match. And still she won, grinding through a deciding set against a player she had never beaten before from a country whose players had beaten her 13 consecutive times across her career. Breaking a pattern like that requires something beyond talent. It requires the kind of psychological stubbornness that only accumulates through losses, and Eala has collected enough of those in 2026 to have earned it. The Birmingham title was her first on grass. It was also her first WTA 125 title since Guadalajara. And here is the detail that transforms it from a nice story into a genuinely useful piece of competitive data. She won it on the same surface, in the same country, under the same sky that she now competes beneath at Queen's Club. The grass Eala played on in Birmingham is close to identical in speed and bounce characteristics to what she will face on the Andy Murray Arena or Court 1 in London. Her feet have been calibrated. Her timing has been set. She knows what the ball does off this specific type of turf because she just spent 5 matches learning it. Compare that with Zhang Shuai's path into the straw. Zhang came through qualifying, beating Heather Watson 6-3, 6-4 in the final qualifying round, and before that dispatching Britain's Harriet Dart 6-2, 4-6, 6-4. Zhang needed those matches. At 37 years old, ranked 61 in singles, carrying a 2026 record of 12 wins against 16 losses, she is not here on reputation alone. She qualified because she still has the hands, the instincts, and the competitive hardness that have sustained a career spanning nearly 2 decades at the top level. But the singles results this year tell a story of someone who is fighting gravity. A first-round loss at Roland Garros to An Lee. A quarter-final run at Strasbourg that ended when Emma Navarro came back from a set down to beat her. The glimpses of quality remain. The consistency does not. Where Zhang's 2026 has been genuinely remarkable as in doubles. She won the Australian Open alongside Elise Mertens in January, her third career Grand Slam doubles title, and her first since the 2021 US Open. That title confirmed something important about Zhang's current competitive state. Her court sense, her netcraft, her ability to read patterns and construct points with angles rather than power, all of that remains elite. In doubles, where the margin for error is smaller and positional intelligence matters more than raw athleticism, Zhang is still world-class. She sits at number 8 in the doubles rankings. The question for this match against Eala is whether those same qualities translate into a singles context against someone 16 years younger who is moving with more confidence than at any point in her life. The grass court record offers an interesting window. Jaber's career surface split shows her at 25 wins and 28 losses on grass, a 47% win rate that places it slightly above her clay numbers, but below her hard court baseline. She has enough grass experience to avoid the common traps. She knows how to handle the skid. She understands serve, positioning, and the value of taking the ball early before the low bounce forces her to dip. But she is not a natural grass player in the way that someone like Rybakina or Bolter might be. She adapts to it rather than thriving on it. IGA's grass record is shorter, but steeper in trajectory. Including qualifying matches, she sits at 15 wins against 8 losses on the surface, a 65% clip. More importantly, those numbers are climbing in real time. Last year, she reached the final in Eastbourne, beating Yelena Ostapenko along the way, and held 4 championship points against Meyer Sharif before losing in a final set tiebreak. This year, she won Birmingham without dropping serve in her opening round, bageling Priscilla Hahn 6-0 in the first set before cruising 6-2 in the second. The grass has become her second-best surface almost by accident, a product of the flat ball striking and clean timing that also make her lethal on hard courts, finding a natural home on turf where the ball stays low and rewards players who take it on the rise. Tactically, this match presents a fascinating study in contrasting approaches to the same problem. IGA wants to dictate. She plays from inside the baseline whenever possible, redirecting pace with her backhand and generating her own with a forehand that has developed genuine weight over the past 12 months. Her serve remains a work in progress, neither an ace machine nor a reliable weapon, but Birmingham showed her finding higher first serve percentages when it mattered most. On grass, where free points on serve are currency, she will need to find at least 65% of first deliveries to prevent Zhang from stepping into return position and using her anticipation to neutralize the advantage. Zhang's game is built on something harder to quantify than pace or power. She reads patterns. She positions herself early. She uses the angle of the court rather than the speed of the ball, slicing backhands that stay low on grass, redirecting with subtle wrist adjustments that turn a neutral rally into something geometrically awkward. Against a younger opponent who wants to play fast and forward, Zhang's best strategy is disruption. Change the speed. Mix the spin. Force Eala to generate her own pace rather than using Zhang's against her. If the rallies become rhythmic and fast, that favors the Filipino. If they become choppy, variable, and unpredictable, that is Zhang's territory. The serve and return dynamic may prove decisive. Eala's return game has been one of her defining attributes all season. She reads direction well and has the reflexes to handle pace. Against Zhang's serve, which lacks the raw speed to produce aces on grass, but compensates with placement and disguise, Eala should be able to create pressure from the return side of the court. The question is whether she can hold her own service games with enough comfort to avoid letting Zhang hang around. Because Zhang, despite her age and her inconsistent season, has one quality that never fades. She competes. The Strasbourg run proved it. The qualifying wins here proved it. And her entire career has been defined by a refusal to concede a match before the arithmetic forces her to. There is also the intangible factor of tournament context. For Eala, this week at Queen's Club is preparation for Wimbledon. She entered as a late replacement after Jessica Pegula and Hailey Baptiste withdrew with injuries, and the field around her is steep. Elena Rybakina as the top seed, Amanda Anisimova, Victoria Boko, Belinda Bencic, Marta Kostyuk, Iva Jovic, who beat her in Strasbourg and could be a second-round opponent. This is not a tournament Eala is expected to win. It is one where every round one adds to her grass court education and her confidence heading into the championships at the All England Club later this month. For Zhang, the calculation is different. Every singles match at this level is borrowed time. The ranking is 61 and may not stay there without results. The body is 37 years old and the recovery windows grow longer. A qualifying run followed by a main draw win would represent a strong week. There is no pretense of a deep title run here. There is only the professional stubbornness of a woman who has played over 700 career matches and refuses to treat any of them as throwaway. The Filipino crowd factor deserves mention. Eala has spoken repeatedly about how the presence of her compatriots at British tournaments transforms the atmosphere. In Birmingham, the Filipino community turned out in numbers that surprised even the organizers, creating pockets of raucous support that gave Eala the feeling of playing at home despite being 8,000 kilometers from Manila, T Queen's Club in central London. That effect will be amplified. The Filipino diaspora in the UK is substantial, and Eala has become a genuine sporting icon within it. That crowd energy carried her through the championship point drama in Birmingham. It may carry her again here. My prediction for this match leans toward Eala, and here is why. The convergence of factors favoring her is unusually dense. She has immediate grass court form, having won 5 consecutive matches on the surface ending less than 48 hours before this one begins. She has the ranking advantage. She has the physical advantages that come with being 21 rather than 37. She has the tactical profile that grass naturally rewards. Flat ball striking, clean timing, willingness to take the ball early. And she has the momentum, that strange and unquantifiable force in tennis that sometimes means nothing and sometimes means everything. Zhang's path to winning this match exists, but it is narrower. She needs Eala to come out tight feeling the fatigue of back-to-back weeks and the pressure of stepping up from a WTA 125 to a WTA 500 in the space of a day. She needs the disruption tactics to land early to take Eala out of her rhythm before that Birmingham confidence fully transfers to this court. She needs her own serve to find corners consistently, because if she falls behind on serve against someone riding this kind of wave, the match could accelerate away from her before she has time to find solutions. I see this going to Eala in straight sets, something in the range of 6-4, 6-3, with Zhang making it competitive through the first half of each set before the younger player's pace and court coverage gradually establish separation. The critical moment will likely come midway through the first set when both players have settled into the match and the tactical chess begins. If Eala can break first and hold on to that lead, the match should follow a predictable arc. If Zhang finds an early break, the contest becomes significantly more interesting and could stretch to in sets. But here is what I want you to watch for beyond the result. Watch IGA's movement between points. At Birmingham, there was something different about her body language compared to the clay season. She walked with purpose. She bounced on her toes during changeovers rather than sitting heavy in her chair. The grass seems to energize her in a way that clay did not. And if that energy is still present after a single night of recovery, it will tell you something about where she is headed this summer. Watch IGA's slice. On grass, her backhand slice becomes a genuine weapon rather than a defensive tool, staying impossibly low and forcing opponents to dig balls up from below the net cord. If that shot is landing consistently, it means she has read the court well and may be more dangerous than her ranking suggests. For fans wanting to follow along in real time, the LTA website has a live match center with point-by-point scoring. The BBC will have ball-by-ball updates through their sport app and social media, particularly Filipino tennis communities on Facebook and X, will provide the kind of passionate real-time commentary that makes following IGA matches a communal experience regardless of where you are physically located. This is a first-round match between a player ranked 33 and a player ranked 61, and on paper it should not generate this much intrigue. But tennis rarely cooperates with paper. IGA walks in carrying a trophy. Jan walks in carrying 2 decades of knowledge about how to make young opponents uncomfortable on grass. Something has to give, and whatever gives will tell us something meaningful about the summer ahead.